This morning I've got this little commission to do of the confluence of the two river Creuse, the Grande and the Petit, and we've got the joint. I'm going to have to draw this out, the trees each side here, and then we're going to look at a more unusual view where we're actually looking at across to where the joint happens here from one of the banks at the far side. Acrylics again, and I'll just show you how rapidly we can work straight onto M.D.F without doing any priming at all. So I need to just sketch it out, and I'll quickly mark up my picture into quarters just so I know where things are going. Nearly always do this. It's the fastest way just to scale. You can bring those lines right across the photograph if you wish, so they come across like this and you can see exactly where things are then, but you should be able to virtually get them in the right position. I mean, if you're doing something like a portrait or an animal where everything has to be exact, then it's more complicated. But when you're doing a landscape where a tree can be moved slightly, even by your own wishes, what doesn't matter. So here we have this composition coming in about this far, about a quarter up here, comes up at an angle, it finishes here, about here, so there's the point it completes. It goes around in that arc, up, it comes back up here to about this position, behind those trees. These trees start here. Let's make one simple lump for them, keep the whole composition quite simple. They finish just inside here, coming around there and into that shape. This comes up into a little bush here. We've got these two delightful little figures here which are going to be quite useful to us. Bush comes in and around there, down, and then on that mark here you can see here we've got that bit of bush coming up, out, round, and it sort of comes out there a little bit in the bush, which is a nice composition, leads around here into it, comes up here, in and around, the branch coming there, just below here, up there. Very, very quick to draw, nice simple little composition, comes out here, just below halfway there, look about here, that bit of river just finishes coming off at a slight angle downward. From that point there we've got a little waterfall, which is very important to us, and then these various bits of trees and angles, which I'm going to paint very, very quickly, very rapidly, to show you just how fast we can do a study like this. Well, I've got lovely reflections going on down here, a beautiful reflection happening. It comes round there in a nice lump up here, round and down there. So this lovely shape for these trees reflecting from over here. And there's a little composition ready to go. We're not going to waste time. I'm going to get this done very quickly, out of the way. Got things to do. Whole barbecue to arrange tonight with friends coming, and this commission earlier on. I'm going to start with a half-inch filbert and work up again from the mid-tones through to the darks, and then my highlights on top. So I want fairly cools in the background of this at the moment, and let the brown just glow through. Right up under here, of course, I want to get the board doesn't fall off on me. Work up this blue-grey. I'm using some ultramarine at the moment, a little touch of emerald, just to give myself a cool background here. And I'm going to vary the amount of emerald in it to get a feeling of these distant trees, just glazed up here, behind here. And as it comes forward it gets a little bit warmer, so I'm going to add a little touch of purple to it here and get these emerald darks a little bit warmer with the purple, which is, of course, purple is either a warm end of blue or a cool end of warm, whichever you prefer to go, red and blue basically, or cyan and magenta, which would give you a proper purple. A little bit more light emerald into it here now, just to start to feel the difference in these leaves, making them a fraction warm as they come down. Now back to my deeper colour. I'm going to add a little bit of Prussian into it and give myself a slightly darker green as it comes down. And also use it thinly, use a wash here for instance. I'll just bring this dark blue right the way along there, up into here, and vary my brush strokes to get the feeling of these bunches of leaves behind here before coming in with lighter tones. A bit of a tree coming up there, quite dark down here, a bit more emerald green into it, and we'll come along to here now. Work up some of these lights a little bit. I'll start to use the tip of the brush to flick it in the direction of these branches, to start to try and get the feeling of these lumps of branches that are like parasols hanging down here, just tickling with the tip of the brush to get the feeling of these. And we've got a lovely sort of turquoisey blue-green happening down as the water reflects even into pink down here, so I'm going to just let that glaze through here very, very quickly as a study, just as I would paint if I were outdoors, and start doing vertical strokes now, not just horizontal, because I've got reflections and I want to start getting the feeling of these reflections here. Just how quickly we can do a study of this size with no priming at all. Straight onto here, letting the board just blow through a bit. I'm going to take a little bit of very light magenta now and just add that into my equation. And again, vertical strokes, and we'll just start to feel some of this pink glowing down through here that's coming from the rocks around, up and back into here, around here, just coming down, little strokes like the tips of the trees, right down through, a bit more water to make it almost like a wash going in of watercolour, right up there, these little strokes like the tops of the trees here, little strokes to get the feeling of reflection, bands of reflection coming in these trees, right down into here, more water. Don't mind if it soaks into the board, it's a nice way to work. You can do the same with oils, where you can take oils and thin them down with the taps and work very quickly into board this way, and it's a very effective way, as you can see. Bits of light just coming down, little strokes, right up into here. Don't need many horizontals because it's such a mirrored water. We want this effect of mirrored water. And the light's coming back, little touches of light to the background. Just here where that waterfall comes as well, we'll just pick it out a fraction and come back with a detail brush later. Okay, back into there, right up into here. Now, get back to my deeper tones again, my little bits of light blue coming through here before I go much darker with those leaves coming down into here. Now I want to go quite dark. I'm going to take some purple and some Prussian Blue and a wee bit of brown to make it darker. And look how much darker it goes then. That's too dark, so bring it back a bit, a little bit of Ultramarine in it now, we'll bring it a bit bluer right down into here. Look how much stronger my tones are, because I want to bring these leaves forward. So I'm going to add now to that a bit more of the emerald, just to soften it a bit. It's a little bit too dark, make that tone a little bit lighter coming right up here. Make these little brush marks as they come up all the way along down there. I'm going to put some lighter colour here in just a minute. Just take some of these darks and we'll just flip them in here to get the feeling of these broken leaves coming out. Tip of the brush, we'll just use the tip of the brush to flick in the ends of these little bits of leaf rather than using a very small brush yet. You can do it with this bigger brush first of all the way across here underneath and along the bottom. If you want to copy this one and have a go at it, it's your chance. It's a nice easy one to do just for these effects. Have a go at this by all means. I'd like you to try experimenting, exploring. This is a free one for you. You don't have to go onto my paying site to do this one. I'm going to give you plenty later, but obviously it depends how well the paying site takes off. If it doesn't take off, then people are wanting different things all the time, but we've got to get one thing going at a time, haven't we? We can't just whack in with tons and tons of new things if one thing doesn't work first of all. Unfortunately, I wish I could for you. Now a little bit of these darks in the background, I'm going to just bring them out a fraction more where these shadows are back here. Get rid of this board as quickly as we can before I start putting some of those lighter colours in. I'm going to put some of these darks just into there, right through, a little bit more blue into it now. I'm going to deliberately put some turquoise into here, into this colour in marks to make the reflections of the leaves start. A little bit of cerulean, a little bit of turquoise, and then as that comes up through, so a bit more emerald, we'll start to get this greener and I'm painting the paint slightly more thickly on top now as I do this to make these colours show out, otherwise they're going to disappear into the colour below. So I need to just make them a fraction thicker and then blend them in with the tip of my brush as I go along. And I'll start to get the feeling of these leaves and the light in between them coming down here. That same emerald is going to come across here, right through, and it's going to be reflecting down here as well, so I'm going to just bring a little bit of it, quite light, just along the bottom of the bank here. It's quite effective look. Right up to this little bit of tree here. And this one brush stroke's all we need there. I'll bring that light down into here and just coming through in between these darks. If it's just showing through there, so slightly stronger, so it's slightly purer just here, a few little marks of strong colour, doesn't blend back in again. Now, I'm going to use that very light pink I had earlier, a little bit of magenta and white, and in with the light blue, in with the light green, just make that a sort of pinky green as I use little brush strokes up here, slightly more yellow green as I just mix it with that pinker colour, and the tip of the brush slightly broken look. Here's my ½ inch filbert. I need to go down to a smaller brush now just to work on some of these smaller, finer areas here. Let's look at this sort of lovely pink colour that's going on in the background here. I'm going to take some of my sky pink that I've got already that I bought ready-made, which is rather fun. It's basically a mixture of a little bit of magenta, yellow ochre and white, and that will give you this colour. Let's just try it out as it is. It's just a little bit too light, so a wee touch more magenta into it. There we go. And we'll bring that right up through between the trees here, and little tiny strokes again to get the feeling of the trees as they come up through here, right down to here, right down through behind the trees here. There we go, we've almost got our bank, and that bank must be reflecting, so when it's here we're going to come along the bottom with a little bit of a line of it and just little vertical strokes and horizontal strokes, dabbing it in here. Let's get the feeling of this reflecting down under here into these colours down below. Little vertical touches, like feathers almost, coming down through here. We'll call these pot boilers. You know, these are quick little studies that we can really enjoy doing, and will make us a few pennies to buy more paints. And then there's little bits of rock that come out there. Say we're using the tip of the brush, just the point of the brush, just to feel these little bits of light. Back we come with some more paint, fresh paint. If it gets too low, we want fairly pure paint to just dabble it on here. Can't just put dry paint onto here now, it's got to be a little bit wetter to make sure that it does go on and back up into here. Dry brush now, just dragging the brush over the surface to get the feeling of some shingle coming out there into the water before it reflects down. And the pinks are reflecting up into the trees as well, and the trees are reflecting down into it, so little bits of pink that are also surprising. You think it's just green in the trees, blue in the sky. No, please look for all of these colours everywhere else. When you've got one colour on your brush, see if it's anywhere else as well. Don't just think that just one colour is sky, one colour is water. One colour is coming into another constantly, and it links things together, which is very useful to us. Those little marks to give the effect of light. Let's look at the turquoise down here. So I'm going to take keep with my small brush at the moment. Just get it well cleaned, get all that paint off. It soon dries in this atmosphere. Now I want a lovely light turquoise, so I'm taking some pure turquoise, a little bit of white, and I may even add a little bit of yellow in a minute because I want it slightly yellower down here. But look at that lovely colour. That may be a little bit too light still. I'll put some more turquoise on it, almost as it is, and work some light into that in just a minute. Now, these edges here, we can paint them straight in, but I want to break into those trees. So I'm going to use my brush vertically here and just dabble into these trees with little vertical marks, so that they're not a flat edge, they are a broken edge as this light comes up into them. Comes right down into these branches here, leaving these little dark bits behind. There's quite a lot of this blue. Comes right down into here, a bit more strength in the blue. I'm going to go slightly warmer and take some cerulean blue, bring the cerulean down here, and look how much warmer that cerulean blue is It's a lot warmer than the turquoise above, which gives this lovely effect now of more depth in the sky. Breaking that down into amongst these leaves, some of that cerulean blue, little touches of it breaking amongst the leaves, leave the leaf shapes behind. Because we can put light over dark with acrylics that we can't do with watercolour. With watercolour we're painting dark into light. With acrylics we're painting light over dark very often. So that colour comes right up into here. Back to my very light turquoise again, and bring that colour into these shapes here. I'm going to put a bit of pink in there in a minute as well. We've got that lovely reflection coming way down here, breaking up into here. As I come down here, I'm going to go back to my Cerulean again, the warmer blue, and look how different that is when I do that. Right down into amongst the leaves here. Cerulean, which is much warmer than the turquoise, and cobalt will be the next one up, and then ultramarine after that, and so on, and then we'd be coming into the purples almost. So you see how that warmer blue works down, coming into the sky there. A little bit more as I come into the clouds to make that turquoise seem more turquoise. I thought I was going to use a bit of yellow, but I may not have to. There we go, that gives it that warmth, that effective light there. And already the picture's nearly there. I mean, we're well on with it. Come down, and I'm going to mix some of that light green I had earlier with that same mixture I've just done, just to get some of the reflections a bit better here. Little vertical marks to feel these bits of light from the trees above. So this is a mixture of the light blue I've just been using and some of the green we were using earlier. So I'm not wasting paint, and it's still wet enough in my palette to do. And this is painting smooth water, so painting smooth water, nearly all of our strokes are vertical, with just some horizontals you'll see later as we go on. I'm going to go even lighter here in a minute to get these leaves, but for the moment let's just work our medium tones up. This pinky blue, my French grandfather clock going off. Let's get this out of the way so you can see it better, and I'll move that painting forward a fraction so that the light is better for you. Now you can see the whole painting better, I suspect. I'm going to go a bit more sunshine in just a minute. Let's just get these cooler greens in first, and then when I put the warmer ones in, they're really going to sing. I'm going to a lighter green now and a little bit more white into that. I haven't had to use any yellows at all as yet. There we go. Now look at that sunshine now coming down through. We've worked our mid-tones and most of our darks up. We don't have to go much darker, in fact. I can just start to bring these lovely bits of light with a yellow-green and white, a sunnier, warmer green now coming into here. Same on these trees. Lots of little strokes building from the mediums into the darks and back out towards our sunlight. Almost done. Now I'm going to go a lot warmer and take some orangey green. So I'm going to take some cadmium orange now and mix that with a little bit of the Viridian emerald colours I've got. And let's make some slightly warmer, look at this much warmer orange I'm going to put into here to bring these few larger, closer leaves forward into us, and that pushes those cooler ones back immediately, right up into here. These warm up more orange greens. We've got it slightly with the board already, so it's already slightly with us. We can even go slightly cooler with that as well. And those little bits of dark, we've put the light over the dark. Now I'm going to bring some of the dark back in and just bring some of that dark back over the light here to get the feeling of dappled leaves coming down over the top of this, the other way around. So we've got these leaves just coming across the foreground here. So we're looking through them. On our final stages now of the picture, so do have a go at this one. It's great fun. You should be able to manage this. I've given you the original picture you can take off the... Now I want to take some slightly stronger blue. I'm going to take a mixture of turquoise and ultramarine and just try and get some of these lovely slightly turquoise. Oh, that's even stronger. That's over. And those very light blues are happening back a little bit onto the reflections of the water here. So let's just scumble the brush across there. And before we put the little red figures in, and just feel these little bits of light blue as they come across the ripples of the water back here. So now I'm painting a little bit more horizontal in these light blues. I've done my verticals and I'm just putting a bit more horizontal work in, reflecting here now. Just the odd touch. So we've got this horizontal playing against the verticals we've done earlier. Look at the lovely effect we get of ripples in the water as it comes around. Right, we've got that. Now with my smallest brushes I need to put in these little figures. Just a couple of touches should do it. We'll be very careful here, we don't want to overdo it. We must paint them in the same style or they're going to stand out like a sore thumb. So the trouble now with my paint is that the stuff isn't like oil, it tends to be a little bit thinner. But let's just take a little bit of cadmium red now, some warm red, and wear these figures just up into here. There's one about here, and there's one about here. Don't need much more than that, but that red, like Constable used, will set it off. I can put a little bit of orange in there in a minute. We'll just set it off. Pure paint, and a little touch of maybe cadmium yellow just into it, a fraction, just to lighten it a bit. Where the top of the figure, the head is there. Look at that light now on that. And if I then add a little bit of white to that, a little bit of that flesh tint from earlier, we can just maybe make his legs a fraction here. And there we are. That's given us a focal point in a very simple little picture. Going back to my lights, well, I've got that pink in my brush. I just want to make a few little bits of pink coming into here that are a bit brighter, just to lighten up the picture there. And I think that will do. I don't think we need to do any more with that picture. I think it just works as it is. With varnish on that, that will do. If we wanted to do any finer work, we could put a few strokes in here. Let me just show you a little trick or two. I'll take my rigger, just to finish off. So you've used 3 brushes only there. If I can find a little rigger, here we are, there's a little rigger. And I'll just take a little bit of the darker colour we were using earlier. A little bit of Prussian Blue and warmth. And we'll just flick a few little lines of twigs out. Make sure your brush is well loaded with fine paint. Make the brush into a little blade, just to leave the eye in. And that's it, that will do it. Now I need to sign that. And I think a nice light signature just here will do the job. So that's another one bounced out of the way this morning. There we are. How's that then? That's fun. So let's whack a coat of varnish onto that, and that's showing you how to do a quick study of a couple of children playing in the Creuse here. And there we go. Let's take a closer look at those figures and how they're painted. Just a couple of marks, look. Very crude, but from a distance, remember we're talking millimetres here, on a small painting like this.